and harder to find. Like, really hard to find almost these days.
Yeah, I mean, I hate to, you either sound like kind of, like a Luddite or or like a hipster douchebag by saying, how important analog is.
Mm-hmm.
But man, it makes a difference. When we spent the money and spent the time, and that everything that you guys just heard tonight, that we used real outboard gear. We used plugins too for different things. Andrew used some plugins for his guitar sound and all that stuff. I plugged into an amp and mic'd it. That's what I did, because that's all I've really known.
Mm.
So in that this EP has the merging of the two. It's super technical, and it's also just just a Pitbull 212 amp in a room, cranked up, and that's it. Spent maybe 15 minutes getting the sound. I knew the sound I wanted, and just hit record. And I only want somebody who knows how to do that.
No, exactly. I mean, there's no reason you should have to compromise either from a musician's perspective. I mean, it's our art, so to speak.
Yeah, and I completely understand. Guitarists are sort of notorious in this business. I'm not saying anything about my guitars at all. I'm going to put that out there. And I've worked with some amazing guitarists, for years. But they're sort of notorious for being the squeakiest of wheels in the studio, because they always want to go back and fudge it. They always want to do it right. Mm-hmm. And I always go back to the man. I wish I could remember his name. I feel terrible, but it's very late here in New York. But
I know how you feel.
The lead guitarist for Holding Company in Janis Joplin. And you've got that one of the most iconic riffs of that Piece of My Heart track, which is that's the tune that made me just as a kid, I fell in love with Janis Joplin. It's I don't even know what this is. I just know I want to be part of this. And somebody said, "Oh man, that riff you laid down at Piece of My Heart, man, that's so good." And he goes, "Oh, I flubbed the shit out of that." He's like, "No, that was terrible. I completely screwed that up." But they were live recording, and so that's those are the accidents that make it real, that make it something personal, that make it sound more like a conversation than just we plugged into a computer, we hit a button to send it to hit a beat, and then this is what it is. There are definitely places for that, but I just don't. In rock and roll, it's just never what it was ever. It has to be a little messy. It has to be a little sloppy. Mm-hmm. It has to breathe. It has to move. We didn't use a click track on the CP because it was why would you do that? I have Mott. He reads the song. Mm. Mott is one of the first drummers that I worked with in a really long time that immediately played the song and not the part.
That's a very good distinction. Very good distinction.
And would and leave rehearsal humming the melody for a brand new song. It was from day one. He came in day one, and I used GarageBand, and I put a bunch of tracks together just to sort of just a pure demo. This is what the song is. Then we'll play it when we get in the room. And I still do that. I did that with Happy Ever After. I recorded it on the couch at my parents' house. I used earbuds with a microphone to record the vocals.
Cool.
And I used my laptop keyboard to play the bass line because it was faster than getting my bass out. and did, you know, 2 guitar tracks and a bass track, and just had the bass, you know, the basic beat for the drums. I use like 3 drum beats every time I do a demo for these guys. It's a really good, it's an efficient way of doing it when you can't get together like we'd like to, probably 3 times a week. It's just not realistic. It would cost too much for the space, and then also, you know, we got lives and, you know, loved ones and stuff, and so we can make it the best we can make it work. We make it work. Andrew does the same thing. He records a bunch of stuff and just sends it to us on Facebook. And
that's kind of
great.
That's kind of a common thing, actually. Now that you mentioned that, I'm hearing more and more about that. And there was a band that I was involved in for a little while. They're kind of on hiatus right now. You don't want to drop their name? Because I'm curious.
Oh,
yeah, I'm building up to that. Okay. Building up to that. A little bit of background first. But sure. I was supposed to be... Initially, I was going to be a singer, and it was okay. I mean, my vocals are really kind of niche-type vocals for what I do for them, and they're not really super appropriate for a more organic kind of band. And this band, so I mean, I dropped off from them, and they got a different singer who, far and away, amazing singer. I am humbled by how how good a job he was able to do, so I don't really feel bad about that. But I always stay in contact with those guys, and the bass player was kind of the driving force behind getting everybody like, let's all go let's practice, let's get all this going, let's write some music. And he would do the same thing. He would do everything through Cakewalk, I believe, like in MIDI electronically first, and say, this is what my part was going to be in the drum part. You guys get an idea what I was going for with the song, and then everybody would come up with their own guitar parts and things around that, and it would build into a real song. Anybody who's interested in hearing what they evolved to, the band is Elder Sign. They're on Facebook, and some Lovecraftian imagery was really, really heavy with that band. Great aesthetic. Good bunch of guys too. They're like I said, they're on hiatus right now because their singer is currently touring internationally as Daddy Warbucks.
Oh no!
A Broadway production of Annie.
No way! That's
that's awesome.
Oh wow!
So it's hard pressed to find somebody to fill his shoes, and so they're kind of just, you know, not doing a whole lot right now, but definitely give them a listen if you get a chance. But the point is, they do the same thing. They'll make like a rough electronic only kind of version, and then develop it into a real organic piece of music after that. And it's really impressive to see that kind of thing, something like that, grow into a finished product.
Sure. Well, you know, and it really is. It's kind of just the most efficient way to do your homework. Is that you don't have to go, wait, what was that? Was that an F sharp, or was that a B that he played, and you can't remember, and then you might do some damage writing the wrong part, as opposed to just having it. And I always, almost could liken it to, when you were young, and they give you like math homework, and they would give you a couple of examples before you're doing some specific thing of math, and they would give you 2 examples where you have the answer key, and then you do the rest of it. That's sort of like whatever program you choose to use on your computer. It's kind of the same concept. It's like this. And so if there's ever any doubt, just refer to the thing that's the right thing, and then you're making progress. It's really fun. Sometimes we hit the ground running. There's a couple of tunes we just played right the first time. It just happened, and you kind of don't know what to do.
Well, that chemistry is awesome when you have that, especially with like it. It seems like chemistry is one of the most difficult parts of a new band nowadays, because everybody has formulas in their head for, I want our band to be like this, and they stick to that. Like there's no deviation, and it's like it's hard to stay creative in some of the environments like that nowadays.
Well, it's not just not in band. I think it has to do with any kind of creativity aspect. You got to have that right vibe in everything you do if you're going to have in a partnership. For an example, go back to the podcast real quick. I mean, I have Spider, and he's now my co-host, and he fit into Nudge that I actually needed to fill in the gaps. And now we have a artistic charisma, I guess you want to call it.
We're getting a pretty good rapport.
Yeah, we're getting there, and so that he fits in where I'm lacking, because I knew that I needed a co-host, and I started one earlier. It didn't really pan out that I was hoping for. I didn't have one for a while because I wanted to take a break for it, and then I was like, you know what? I really need one. I need that repetition kind of thing. And Spider said, you know what? Why not? And so here we are. So it has to. It's not just for bands. It's also any kind of creativity that you put into it. You know.
Yes, absolutely.
You got to have that kind of charisma along with anything you do.
And I will say that, you and I didn't know each other then, so nothing against Spider, but I will, I'll forgive you for not asking me.
Uh-oh.
I'm gunning for you, man. No.
Well, I did give myself that promotion, so I guess they're going to push me off and do a spinoff now, right?
Oh, my gosh.
And also, now going back to, I mean, I taught you guys...
Spider's web show?
Full of cheesy synthesizer lines.
There you go.
And now, again, going back to, more promoting, I mean, I was telling you and T-Mott, behind the scene before he took off, is just that I want to do live shows. And believe it or not, since Speaker is like where I am live at, they have an app on my phone where I can go do live shows and do a 3-hour show tops on my phone. Wow. Or I can do a live interview and cut and paste into a show. I did that with live King Cardinal's live show, and I did it an encore presentation with them with an interview and a live show. So
worked out pretty well too.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
Awesome.
I haven't touched spice and cut things since 15 years, so it's kind of cool that I still know how to do all that stuff.
Yeah.
And so that kind of promotion helps out too when you're trying to put a product together. If I'm saying this correctly.
Mm-hmm.
Well, another thing too is before, like when the show first started, of course, I started off as a guest spot, just like Sean here, Serial Obsession. I was a musician spotlight, and it wasn't like a full-time gig. I was just here for that, and then it was your show entirely. Mm-hmm. And then bringing someone in like me who promotes in a different way, getting back like full circle background of the topic, we're able to branch out in 2 different directions in how we promote the show to kind of bridge the gaps we might be missing in the middle. Yeah. So that way we're covering more bases and getting more of a fan base and spreading things out better, which is a benefit not just to the show itself, but to each of us individually and all of our different things. Like me as a musician and the guests like Serial Obsession as musicians, it's like a ripple effect. It allows everything to kind of spread out and promote much farther than where we initially were to start with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And I also realized I got to take a small break. So hold that thought, Sean. Don't lose that thought. I got to take a small sponsor break, so don't go away. Okay? All right.
Let's Talk About the Music is wanting your sponsorship to help support local independent music and musicians worldwide. We have different levels of sponsorship for everyone, including up-and-coming bands and musicians, to give a little more boost to your promotions. Let's Talk About the Music is also looking to podcast live from your music-related special events, shows, and venues. For more information, go to letstalkaboutthemusic.com.
The volunteers at Let's Talk About the Music is honoring the creativity of Star Wars on May 4th. Hear in their own way how they enjoy Star Wars.
Let's talk
First up, Ty, the voice guy.
I have many fond memories of Star Wars when it came to theaters in the summer of 1977.